Alright, so we got to experience the iPhone 15 and 15 Pro on launch day at the iStore, and I have to say the experience was quite amazing. But today I would mainly like to focus on the iPhone 15 because that's where I believe you can get the most value for your money as compared to the iPhone 15 Pro. So let's get into it. Alright, so straight away you can see that the iPhone 15 has the Pro features that we had in the iPhone 14 last year with the dynamic island. This makes me particularly excited because now we get to experience the Pro features that we didn't have in the standard versions of the iPhones, and it now gives a more premium feel as if you're now owning a Pro phone, because in my eyes the Pro version of last year is basically the standard version of this year, which is something to be excited about because now you get all the Pro features that the iPhone 15 has that the iPhone 14 had the previous year. We also get thinner bezels on the iPhone 15, and I have to say these bezels are so thin. You can now immerse yourself more because of the thinner bezels, and it just takes over the screen. And also we do get up to 2000 nits of peak brightness as compared to the 1400 that we had on the 14, which is particularly something of interest. If you're outdoors, you do get those brighter nits, and you can definitely tell the difference between the 14 and the 15 when it comes to bright conditions. Another thing that particularly excites me about the build of this iPhone 15 is the matte glass back as compared to the glass back that we had last year for the 14s. The matte glass back looks so clean, especially with the two tones that you do get where it moves from a slightly lighter color to a slightly darker color. That is something that I particularly love, and my favorite color on the 15s has to be between the pink and the blue. They just look really nice, and in my opinion the colors on the 15 compared to the 15 Pros are something that you should particularly be excited about because they are brand new variations of colors, and the colors, they're all just amazing to have on these 15s. So we also do get the A16 Bionic chip that we had in the iPhone 14 Pro last year onto the base model iPhone 15, and I find this particularly exciting because now we have the premium features that we basically had from last year, which basically makes this phone a more premium phone. So the 15 also has a 48 megapixel camera, which we had on the Pro version of the iPhone 14 last year. When I was testing this out, it was really crisp. It looked much similar to what we had in the 14, which is something that you do want in a camera. You want it to be as best as you can, but also keep in mind you do have to enable it. So basically what I see on this phone is the iPhone 14 Pro that we had last year onto this phone. Also with the camera, you now also get what you get on the Pro versions, which is the next generation portrait mode. So like I said in my previous video, which you can check out, I mentioned that this is basically where it's able to select the subject of the picture and you can basically blur out the background later. And another thing is the USB-C. So we do get USB 2.0 on this one. Unfortunately, we don't get USB-C 3 speeds that we do, like 10 gigabits per second. We still kind of do get the relatively same charging speeds, so also keep that in mind. And with the 15s, you do get a starting price of 22,000 and 25,000 for the 15 plus versions. But in my opinion, it would probably be best to get the standard one that is 22,000 Rand, because in my opinion, the 15 plus and 15 standard is basically not much different, from each other. So if you do want to save some money, I would definitely recommend you just get the 15 standard, and if you're not getting a Pro, just get the 15. I get that it's a bigger display, but if your hands are not as big as mine, I think the 15 standard will do just perfect for you. So straight away, picking up the iPhone 15 Pros, you can notice something straight away, and that is the weight. So Apple claims that the weight difference from the 14 Pros of last year and the 15 Pros of this year is around 10%. But straight away picking it up, you don't feel that it's 10%. Or well, at least I didn't feel like it's 10%. It slightly felt like it's much more than 10%. But if Apple claims that it's 10%, we'll just have to take their word for it. Along with that, we also do get the physical SIM trays, which is something that I was particularly interested. I knew that we wouldn't get full eSIM integration capabilities just yet, But I'd really love there to be an option where you can just get an eSIM model, and that's mainly because I'd really love that 4 nanometers of space to be used somewhere else on the phone to harness more power. But that's just me. And you do get thinner bezels as compared to what you get last year. You could definitely notice the difference when you're just moving across your screen, as well as when you're playing games. The immersiveness of these thinner bezels is something that is unmatched, and I just can't believe that next year we might even have thinner bezels which would be more immersive than what we have right now. The titanium finish is really nice, especially the way it feels when you first hold it as compared to what we had in the 14 Pros. So it's also something that I was particularly excited about when I had a first-hand interaction with this 15 Pro and Pro Max. But moving on to another thing that particularly excited me, and that has to be the action button. That was the first thing that I wanted to try on the Pro versions, and it's not that difficult to use. And the action mode was something that I was looking at from an accessibility standpoint as something that would enable us to have better shortcuts on our phones to enable us to do more by replacing the mute button with a more accessibility friendly feature. So you go all the way to settings and you see an action mode toggle. You toggle on the action mode and you can customize it to do a lot of different things, whether it be turn on your flashlight or just launch your camera. It's something that enables you to do a lot more, and I'd really love to do more deeper testing, which we will do in the upcoming videos, so stay tuned for that. So another thing that I noticed is that the A17 is more than capable of handling basic tasks. From the short time that I got access to this phone, I could play some gameplay and it ran pretty smooth. So you can see that improved while new ray tracing capabilities that is enabling you to do more on the phone than what you could do on the 14 Pros of last year. So I'm particularly excited about this ray tracing, and we will get into more depth when we do test out this phone more in depth, and you guys will see how good the ray tracing is. But firsthand, when you do test out the new improved ray tracing, it is amazing. It is more than capable of handling the tasks, especially in gameplay. The more realistic feel that you get in the game, the more immersed you are. Combined with the thinner bezels, you just get more immersed into the phone than what you did last year, especially with the improved GPU performance. You see a lot of improvement, so that's also something that particularly excited me when I got to experience it firsthand. So when I tried out the 15 Pro Max, one thing that particularly caught my eye was the camera, especially the 5x zoom. It by far exceeded my expectations of what I expected the 5x to be about. So that was something that I was particularly excited to try out, and we did get to try it out for the short time that we were there. You barely do lose the clarity of your image when you do use the 5x, and I have to say this telephonic lens is something that is really amazing to have on the 15 Pros. I just wish that it was available on the 15 Pros, but hopefully in the coming years we will be able to see it on the standard versions. Although you do get USB-C 3.0 speeds, you don't get faster charging, and I would have expected for you to get USB-C, you would have been able to get more capabilities as faster charging or even faster data transfer speeds. For example, now that you get 4K 60 recording, you'd want to transfer your data as fast as you can from your phone onto your external drive. So if you have a limitation as to how fast you can transfer, that might also become a problem in your workflow. So it's something that I would have loved for you to have more capabilities, maybe faster data transfer speeds on the USB-C port than just it being a port that doesn't allow for many different capabilities, and we will get into that in more detail. But it's just something that I thought about, and I would really love to see when we can test it out, how fast the data transfer speeds would be from recording 4K 60 and then transferring that footage onto your external drive. We'll just have to see how that works out. That is something that we will definitely test out. With the price, we still do get the 27,000 Rand for the base model, and you can get the Pro Max for a starting price of 33,500. So keep that in mind when you want to get this phone. So with all that being said, the experience at the iStore was one for the books. And I have to say, with all the new features that are coming out, I'm super excited to be testing out the phones in the coming weeks to see how good they actually are and which ones would be right for you to buy. It's been Fari, and I'll see you guys in the next one.